I want to talk about keys. That pause was intentional because I wanted you guys to have some mental picture that was drawn to mind when I said that word keys. Because I have a feeling that when I said that word, that some of you had a positive feeling or a positive thought about that word. Some of you may have had a negative thought. Some people may have rolled their eyes when that word was uttered. But more than likely, you had some kind of feeling or some kind of thought when the word key was uttered. And I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing that you have some kind of reaction to that word. It is what it is, right? But I want to spend some time over the course of this video talking a little bit about keys. I was recently in a shop and I asked the shop owner to see some of his older books. This was my first time in the shop. I had never been to the shop before. And the owner basically said to me, we don't have keys. And I just asked to see the old books. I didn't ask if you had keys. But I think what's happened over time, probably more the last several years, I think that shop owners and shop employees have somehow been conditioned to automatically respond to people with this idea of people being key hunters. And maybe key hunters being bad, right? And I'm talking air quotes bad, right? And I don't know, again, if that's good or bad. I find that reaction of we don't have keys to be an interesting one. Because the truth is that I am not, and this is my response, I'm not really looking for keys, air quote. I'm looking for, filler books. And when I said it, I almost felt bad because it's almost like saying if something isn't a key, then it's basically garbage. And I struggle with that idea of a non-key being garbage. And part of the reason why I struggle with it is because to some degree or another, a key book isn't necessarily always a key. Pause on that. Think about it. You could make an argument that a key is a comic where something significant happens. And you could say that something significant happens in every comic. Because why else make a comic if something significant doesn't actually happen? So you could say that a significant thing is a death, is a birth, a first appearance, the first time someone crosses over to someone else's title, the first time that someone battles, the first time someone does something that they never did before. It could be the first time a writer or an artist actually works on a book. It could be the title change. It could be a costume change. It could be the first time that a gadget is actually used. And then if you believe in retcons, even a book where something that isn't that significant happens, it could be made more significant because of a retcon that might happen. So to that point, just about every comic is a key. So is the definition of a key a comic where something significant happens, or is it more than that? Is a key a comic that is worth a certain amount of money? Is that the definition of a key? And if that is true, the question becomes, what is that dollar amount? And does that dollar amount happen day one, or does it happen in the future? Now, let's look at that. Let's look at that for just a moment. Hulk 180 and Hulk 181, first appearance, cameo appearance, however you choose to look at it, of arguably one of the more famous comic book characters in Marvel history, that being Wolverine, right? That book came out, those books, I should say, came out a long time ago, right? So this didn't suddenly happen. This wasn't a recent occurrence. But what has occurred recently is the dollar amounts associated with that comic have skyrocketed over the last several years. So were those books keys before, or did they suddenly become keys once they were worth a certain amount of money? Right? You should, let's think about that. Because I don't know. I would say that those books were significant even when they weren't worth something. They were technically keys. They were technically important, right? Not necessarily because they are now worth a lot of money, but because it's where Wolverine basically made his cameo and first appearance, right? Let's look at it a different way. Must a book that is dubbed a key maintain its value long term to keep the title of a key? If you think about, some of the more recent things, the Captain America picking up the hammer of Thor, that book is now a key, I guess, because it's now worth $80. But in a couple of months, when it's worth $3 or $10, is it still a key? Well, technically, Captain America still picked up Thor's hammer in that book. So is that book still a key? Right? Is a definition of a key something that where something significant happens, it has some value, and that value is maintained long term? I don't know. And here's the thing. I'm actually interested to hear what you guys have to say about that, right? So I would encourage you, when this video goes up, I would be interested to hear what are your definitions for a key, right? Because it almost becomes this thing. Is the definition of a key a little different for every person? And what I mean by that is, if my favorite artist is Mark Bagley, then is a key Mark Bagley's first piece of artwork, first comic that was done professionally? Is that a key? Or is that a key for Regie, and it's not a key for you because you don't care about Mark Bagley? This idea of keys, it's like an onion. It's like an onion that has to be peeled back layer by layer by layer. And all those layers are still the onion, right there. But it is not, I don't think, a simple answer as to what a key is, at least in my mind, because I feel like a key could be so many different things, right? And to some degree, there's probably some commonality in some of the definitions that you guys are going to outline, but there may be also some departures that we see in the responses. But this idea of keys, I only collect keys. Well, what is that? What is a key? Is it a book that is worth a certain amount of money? Is it a book in which something significant actually happens? Must the value of that book be maintained long term? And are there not departures from those general definitions? I mean, you could honestly make an argument that every single comic out there is a key. You could almost make that argument because in every single comic, something significant actually happens, right? And the question, the significance is an order of magnitude, right? Because it could be something really, really small, or it could be something really big. And again, if you think about the retconning that happens, you never know. There's that Web of Spider-Man book where I think it's like the shadow of a hand or something like that. And we never really knew who that shadow of a hand belonged to. And then, over the last couple of years, it was then deemed through retconning that was Eddie Brock's shadow. That was his hand that was seen. Now the book in which his shadow is seen is now considered a key. Since when? Right? And again, this is not about, saying that key hunters are wrong or retconning is bad or you shouldn't collect keys. What I am trying to do is to raise the question around what is a key? Are all comics not key? Are all comics not important? Are they not all worthy to be read and enjoyed? That's kind of what I'm getting to. Not every book has its moment in the sun. Not every book is hung on a wall and displayed and encapsulated and placed in Mylar and top loaders and things like that. But even if that doesn't happen, those books are also important. Those books are also pieces of artwork. They are copies of great stories and storytelling. You know, I don't know what the answer is to what is and isn't a key. But I think that there are a lot of fantastic comics out there that I hope people can actually enjoy, whether they are deemed a key or not. Just something to think about. As you guys know, I'm really big on just like throwing things out for people to consider and for people to kind of noodle themselves. With that, I'm going to wrap this video up. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I enjoy these vlog style videos. I definitely enjoy them because in these things, I don't necessarily provide a lot of answers. I ask a lot of questions, but I think through that, it gives people an opportunity to kind of brainstorm themselves and to think about things maybe a little bit differently. And I think that that's fun. If you need to get in touch with me, feel free to do so at Regie Collects on Instagram, at reggiecollects@gmail.com. Thanks a lot.